Hey guys, welcome back to Just Being a Mom podcast. And today is the first episode of another 3-week series. You guys know how I love a good 3-week series and how I like to talk about things for 3 weeks, okay? But anyways, so today on episode 31, we are talking about mental health, and I'm going to talk about it for the next couple weeks as well, because it's just such a huge topic. It's a lot to be said, and I'm going to dive into like how to figure out what it is, or how to find help, how to support your friends, how to ask for help. So I really want to help moms out there really be able to recognize that what they're going through is, not uncommon, and they're not just crazy. And, it's hard for moms. Okay, let me not jump, okay, because this is what I do. I bounce around, so let me go in order like I planned, okay? But anyways, so I wanted to talk about mental health because I met up with a friend, and we were really talking about just mental health as, Black women, and even overall in the Black community, how mental health is just not like taken so seriously, and how we just kind of ignore it, and how we basically need to stop doing that and bring it to the forefront. And I feel like so many people are trying to do that for the Black community, and are trying to just create awareness around mental health and just taking care of ourselves. And I think especially as Black moms, we grew up watching our moms just like push through it, do everything. Mental health, like what is that? Like, you never see your mom take a moment to herself. And if you did, you had to just go bother her, So, you grew up just watching your mom just being like this hustler, this, go-getter, and she just never, stopped. And we're feeling like we have to do that same things, not knowing that maybe my mom didn't have the support that even I have. So it's just like, I really don't even have to go that hard. I have support here, and I have, help and somebody to talk to about what's going on in my brain and in my life, and just, my everyday anxieties and worries. And, I don't have to, just as Black women, you're just taught to just be strong and just push through it. And we don't have to all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, that's why I was very led to just speak about mental health, and, just shed some light on, like, at different stages, what could be happening, and, what different types of mental issues that you could be having. So like I said, I talked about in a previous episode about, depression, during pregnancy, and I've always, had anxiety, and I felt like it was just always like my atypical, like, thing, like, oh, I have anxiety, I'm always worried about something, and it'll come and it'll go. But I never was depressed. And what's sad is that I used to think depression was just like fake. And don't come for me. But I did. I used to think it was fake. I was just like, I just didn't understand. I couldn't wrap my head around how people could just not be happy. I'm just like, oh, it's so easy. Just be happy. And me, always this jovial kind of spirit, just very happy all the time. It was just hard for me to understand until, it happens to you. And then you're like, oh, I get it. So I did always suffer from anxiety, but I just learned some ways to just like control it, keep myself calm. But that's just like your basic level of that's kind of how I felt like my depression kind of just stemmed from my anxiety. And basically anxiety, you're just worried about things. Your heart beats kind of fast when you're in certain situations. Your hands sweat. You get a little shaky. You get that like that feeling that, when you forgot something and your heart just kind of drops, but it's just like all the time. That's like the type of anxiety I had. And I thought that this was just like normal, but it's not. Anxiety is not normal. So I found that out, and I got some what am I trying to say? I learned some ways to deal with it. And so during my pregnancy, I was in like this deep, dark place, and I could not pull myself out of it. And that is, I think it's called like prenatal depression or something like that. I should have definitely found out the name for you guys, but I will put a link below so you can read more about depression during pregnancy. And so it was just really hard because I was just like, I really need to be happy because my baby inside of me can feel everything that's going on, and he knows that I'm not happy. And great, now I'm feeling bad because I'm feeling bad. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I can't figure out how to get out of this place. And it was really hard. One, because depression is really hard. I've had, like, when I was pregnant, I had thoughts of like hurting myself, hurting my baby. I would literally have like these images in my head of like my baby in a situation where he needed help, like he was hurt and I just stood there like I didn't help him, or like he was doing something and he just got hurt and he was like really hurt, like bleeding, and I just stood there and I just did not help him. And I was just like, this is not normal. I should not be thinking these things. And it wasn't until I shared these things and then other moms were experiencing this too, not necessarily like during pregnancy, maybe they were like postpartum, and but I realized that I'm not insane, that other mothers were thinking about this too. And it goes so deep, you know, it goes into so many other things, so many other crazy things that pop into your brain. And it's just like, you're not like, well, you're not yourself. You're chemically imbalanced. And it wasn't until I started taking vitamin D, and of course, prayer, because, you know, prayer on top of everything is, but this is, okay. So side note, here I go. I love Jesus, but if a doctor tells you to take your medicine, take medicine. You know, it's okay. Mental illness is not something that could just be prayed away. You have to, it's just like if you get cancer, you're not going to not take medication. Of course you're going to pray, and of course you should pray because God heals all things. But if a doctor is telling you to, you know, this is what you need, this is what can help, take this, try this, you need to also do those things, and also pray first and then also do those things. But anyways, so yeah, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? So basically that's what I was going through during my pregnancy. So that is a portion of like mental health during pregnancy and just that part of motherhood. And then there's depression after the baby. Postpartum is most famous it's the most famous. You've heard of it. I know you've heard of it. Okay. It's depression after you have the baby. So it can happen anywhere from like the first 6 months of the child's life. And it's like those thoughts. Like you really want to hurt yourself. You want to hurt the baby. You're not feeling like yourself. You're sad. You can't get out of bed. Sometimes you feel like you can't breathe. It's like this constant, like you're panicking. You're sad. I mean, there's different levels. Like, first of all, I'm not a doctor. I should have said this in the beginning. I'm definitely not a doctor. This is just some research that I've done on my own, and some, you know, information that I've got from some friends. But yeah, I'm not a doctor. But there's different levels to this depression. Like, obviously, there's just moms who just can't get out of bed and can't fathom taking care of their baby. There's moms who aren't breastfeeding and they're super depressed about that. There's moms who are breastfeeding. They're super depressed about that because it's so freaking hard. And there's every mom is going through scrutiny, one. That's why we just need to be a lot easier on moms. Like, it's effing hard, okay? So if we could just be like just a lot gentler, because we don't know what other people are going through. And it's seriously a chemical imbalance right now. And your brain is like sick. It's sick. It's like if you have a cold, but you're not taking any medicine. So you're not getting better. So you just, what was I gonna say? I hate when this happens. But this is what happens when I just like free flow and my thoughts just flow out. So yeah, postpartum depression, there's different levels, and you're not crazy. You're not crazy. You just have to know, kind of just figure out what level you're on, know who to go talk to, and I'll get into that in the next episodes. But I'm just trying to explain basically, what postpartum is. And I heard men get postpartum too. I don't know why, because it's not like they do anything. But a guy can totally get postpartum too, because it happens from like big life changes, like different kind of stressors, like these some things that cause like depression, just like On said, it's just like big life changes, and like guys can really be affected by that too. And I guess I should be lighter on the guys, but they, in a situation like being a guy, like you want to help, but you can't. Like you literally have to sit there and watch the person that you love suffer, and you can't fix it, and that's depressing in itself. And then there's also psychosis, and that is when you're really crazy. No, I'm kidding. But it's just a psychological, like, depression. Basically, I've seen heard stories where women have killed their entire family and themselves because they had psychosis and they didn't get help. So that's the where you're at usually when you have psychosis. You're hallucinating, you're not yourself, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your baby, and it's not normal, and you really have to get help. It's like in any of these stages, it's important to get help, and it's important to seek the proper guidance and not feel ashamed of how you're feeling or what you've been doing, because you're sick, you're not well. And all I could think about when I'm talking about this episode is obviously Kobe Bryant's wife, and it's just such a sad situation, and I just can't fathom where her mind is at right now and where she is emotionally and even physically. Just losing a child and a spouse at the same time, I feel like there's nothing worse that can happen to you. And when somebody goes through something like that, I've talked about grieving on another episode, and how it affects your child. But when it's the child that you're grieving, it's on a whole nother level, and it's so sad. My prayers are so with her and her family and all of the families who have passed away in the accident. But it's it's gonna take some time for all of America, all of the world who loved Kobe Bryant, to get through this, but especially Vanessa having to go through this publicly, and maybe going through it publicly makes it a little bit easier, because she's got so much love and so much support that she never probably even knew she would have. So hopefully maybe she's taking it in that light, and hopefully, I mean, who's to say, maybe she's doing great, seeing the circumstances. But, for anybody who's gone through something like that, it's hard to make it through, and it's hard to make it through without help. So I hope that if she's needing help, she's getting it, and our prayers are with her, and my prayers are with you guys too. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and see you next time.